The one they play at the end of Bosch?
Yes. Oh, yeah. You got real into the Bosch new metal drops. That's for sure.
Did you see it?
No, I didn't watch. I didn't watch Bosch. No, I didn't.
You don't watch TV.
Well, no. I'm not one of those guys. I hate Vancouver. I don't know if it's like this in Columbus, but Vancouver is very much a city where people love to tell you that they don't own a TV. That's like they can't wait to tell you that. Oh, I don't even. It's not only that I don't watch that show. I don't even own a TV, John. It's like, hey, guess what? I don't give a fuck. Is that supposed to be impressive to me that you don't own a TV? I don't give a shit. If you don't want to own a TV, that's up to you. But don't say it to me like me owning a TV is somehow like shitty behavior, you know?
Yeah, like you're dumb because you have to look at the moving pictures instead. Although, I'll say this, I've had a real issue lately, almost kind of feeling bad about this, but when people say they listen to a lot of audiobooks, I'm like, why don't you read the fucking thing?
Yes. You know? Yeah, that's true. See, and that is like, to me, an audiobook is like, listen to a podcast. Like a podcast is going to be better than an audiobook for me. Like, I don't understand this. Ooh, I'm gonna have a book read to me. Also, that would make me fall asleep, I think. Like, I know people that like commute to their job and they'll just like listen to an audiobook on their way to work. Like, that would be dangerous for me.
I think it's okay. So there's a certain type of person in this world that feels like, and you see it a lot on the internet. I need to read all the books. Like, I need to consume as much of the books as possible. This is the same with podcasts, and it's going to be the same with TV soon when Netflix switches it. It's like people who listen to podcasts on like 2 times speed. It's like, why would you do that? Just listen to it on normal speed, and if you miss one, don't fucking worry about it. The world's not going to end. And I think the audio, a lot of, I'm sure there are extenuating circumstances where an audiobook makes sense. Like if like you can't see or something like that. Like I get all of that stuff. I'm just saying it feels like you're just trying to be like, I read all the books. All the books that are out, all the George Orwells and all the Ernest Hemingways and everything. I've read it all. Every single thing. And for me, it's like, I've read some books.
Yeah, you've read the ones you have to, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I read a book. I do read books, but like, I get ashamed about it because if I told somebody, hey, I just cracked a new book, if I told them when I finished it, I would be embarrassed because it takes me like 6 months.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Because I'm an English major and an English teacher. So, I mean, I read a lot. But even then, I've never... I think we somehow like got past a point where like reading books was a thing to brag about. Like, I feel like that is definitely something no one cares about anymore. Like, it used to be like, great. Oh, I'm so learned. I've read so many books, whatever. And now I feel it's people are just like, I don't care about that. What's a book?
I'm sorry, people really care mostly about what albums you've listened to. What cool fucking awesome albums you've listened to.
That's exactly right. And you and me have only listened to extremely cool albums.
I've never listened to a bad one before.
Me neither. And the album that we're tackling this month is certainly no exception. For episode 3, so we've kind of hit on 2 of the pillars of nu metal so far with Limp Bizkit and Korn. And I think a lot of people would say that this is sort of the third band in the sort of, if you had a holy trinity of nu metal bands, this band would be considered the third pillar of the trinity. And I would argue they're the Holy Spirit of the 3, and that is the Deftones. And we will be reviewing their 1997 album Around the Fur today. And do you agree with my assessment that the Deftones are the Holy Spirit?
So I have a hot take incoming.
Okay.
And this is a new one.
Oh,
okay.
And a new hot take, not an old hot take.
Right. And I'm also going to show you how altruistic I am. Okay.
Okay. Good.
Like, I'm a great human.
Is that what altruistic means?
I think something like that. How great I am,
Yeah,
right?
how kind you are. Yeah, you're a
kind, how kind,
Yeah.
how understanding. One of those things, you know?
Yeah.
I just emailed Jonathan Davis's publicist, and he turned me down for an interview. But after listening to The Nothing and re-listening to the first album and then kind of having a little time with Issues, I actually think Korn is the best band out of them. But it goes Korn, Deftones, then Limp Bizkit.
Really? You're putting Korn above Deftones?
That is a very recent thing. That's why I said it's not an old and up until The Nothing came out, I think I might have put the Deftones first for sure.
Okay.
And it's also like, if you put the Deftones first, people are like, all right, this guy's kind of an idiot, but he has the like right first taste. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. But like, so what has led you to put Korn ahead of Deftones? Because I would say my argument for putting Deftones ahead of Korn is that the Deftones have never released a bad album. And Korn have released several. Now, they have released more than Deftones. I think Deftones have released 8 and Korn have released 13, I believe. But still, I don't think the Deftones have released a bad album. And Korn, I mean, come on. They had that whole album with Skrillex, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Korn have done some bad albums, but their highs are very high. You know, fucking this new thing, The Nothing, that album that's probably one of my favorite new metal albums at this point.
Really?
Like it kicks. I'm still listening to it, not like constantly, but I'm still like every once in a while I'll pop it in. You know,
it's a good listen for sure. And Korn, Korn has some
heavy.
good albums. I was doing some research today, Brian, and I read an article that was ranking the Korn albums, and they put Life is Peachy 9th. And I was like, okay, well, why are we even ranking them? You know?
Well, these youngsters out here.
I mean, what is this?
John, I may consider you a youngster too. These youngsters out here, they'll put some crazy album at number 1 when it's true. It's the first album is number 1. That's the best Korn album.
Yeah, they had Follow the Leader at number 1. And then they had Self-Titled at number 2. And then they had Issues at number 3.
Okay.
And then they had See You on the Other Side at 4.
What?
And then they had, I believe, Untouchables at 5. Then a couple of the other new ones. No, sorry. They had The Nothing at 4. And then they had Untouchables at 5. Life is Peachy at 9, though. Life is Peachy for me might be number 2.
Well, I'll give you mine. Okay. Now I got to give you. I have to give you this list.
Give me yours
on a fucking Deftones episode. I got to give you this list.
On the Limp Bizkit episode, we talked a lot about Korn. There's a lot of crossover here, so I think you're okay.
There is. So for Korn, I think the order currently, and I'm not going to name all the albums. I'm going to name all the ones I like.
Yes.
Korn Self-Titled, number 1.
Okay.
Absolutely. Number 2, Issues. Wait, no. Number 2, The Nothing.
Really?
Number 3,
Number 2,
Issues.
The Nothing. That is a hot take. That's the hottest take you've ever had on this show.
It fucking rules. That album hits you know what it does? It hits every single like metal sensor in my brain. It has Korn sounding stuff. It has Pantera
on a Korn album.
Stuff.
There's Korn sounding stuff.
Right, I'm saying basically it feels kind of like a Pantera album, which was a band that I really liked, but with Korn in it.
Right.
And I just love it. I think it's like legitimately really good. I hope it wins an award. I think they deserve it.
The Grammy.
Even though they blew me off for an interview.
Yeah, what the fuck's
and
up with that?
And I paid $104 for floor tickets to their concert.
Well, that's okay.
That's a lot for a Korn concert.
You're
That's
right.
not fair.
They're not like, I mean, that's like a legacy band price, but like, what is Korn's legacy? I mean, they're getting talked about on a podcast by two idiots who get together late at night once a month and share their secret shame with the internet.
My guess is that the publicist checked my Twitter and saw me how I repeatedly post the picture of Jonathan Davis holding a Pickle Rick Funko Pop. But
that might have been it. I was reading some Korn stuff today, like I said, and someone was talking. It was actually, who was talking about it? I think it might have been. No, it couldn't have been someone from the Deftones because they like Korn, but it was someone that was like, it was like a metal band. They were talking about how Jonathan Davis. They were playing this festival and Jonathan Davis was on the festival playing solo, and he like brought a throne on stage and he sat in the throne and sang all the songs while sitting in the throne. And they were like, yeah, and it was a European festival, so he like paid to like bring this throne like across the Atlantic Ocean to just sit on this throne and play solo shit. And like they were framing this like this was bad, and I was like, this sounds incredible to me. Like this sounds like the greatest thing I've ever heard.
we have some stuff coming up later on in the show that is like that might go against whether Deftones likes Korn or not.
That's fair. Okay.
They're snobs. I'll start out talking Deftones. They're snobs. They are. They got into. It's odd because I can't imagine doing this, but you find yourself in an audience. Like you find yourself with an audience that you didn't want.
Yes.
But like, what kind of an audience do you think they expected to have?
Well, yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, I think especially with Adrenaline, right? Like, I mean, Adrenaline is definitely a new metal album. I mean, there's no question about it. I think Around the Fur, you could make the case that they're starting to sort of move away from new metal, but there's still a lot of new metal elements in it. And they're also from California, like all the best new metal bands. And, well, I mean, obviously Limp Bizkit's from Florida, but I think you got to live on the ocean to be a good new metal band, maybe. I don't know. But
have you ever heard of Mushroom Head?
Yeah. Did they not?
Cleveland.
Okay. They're
Cleveland.
All right. Yeah.
And Slipknot is from Iowa.
Des Moines. Yes, that's true. But Des Moines like on a lake, isn't it? Close enough. You got to be near water.
I don't remember.
No, I don't know either. But
I went there. I actually went there and did a live show, and I do not remember. I know there's 8 buildings that a train runs right through the middle of town.
Of course, that everyone's just trying to leave. That's it.
Yeah.
This is like, hey, it's every day you live there, you're reminded of the fact that you probably should leave. We'll run over some facts. So we are, as we said, reviewing Around the Fur, which was released on October 28th, 1997. Came out on Maverick Records. No word on if Deftones were offered nudes of Madonna to sign with the label like Rancid were, but you can only assume that those were on the table. The album was certified gold.